Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment in our Character Spotlight series for Marvel's Contest of Champions. Today we have a character that I'm actually very excited to talk about because they've recently in the last couple of months seen a rework of their kit, and I think that it's made them a far better character. So as opposed to other installments in this series, we won't be doing a lot of speculation on things that I wish were done differently, because this was done very, very well, all things considered. So let's have a look at Yellowjacket, the perks that he has of being a character that you use or play, and how you can get the most yield out of his kit. So we're going to go through the list of abilities that he has just as a standard character, as we always do, and it's a pretty extensive list, so please strap in. Starting off, he has increased physical and energy resistance just as a base level ability, in addition to the innate abilities that characters have, or the innate resistances that characters have. He has additional resistances on top of that. And he's a lot more resistant to energy than he is to physical attacks. But that's not game-breaking by any means. Just know that if you are trying to counter this character, you'll want to try and take in someone who will physically hit harder as opposed to using energy-based attacks. The next item in his kit is the Nuclear Core, and this is an ability of his that is always active, and you can keep tabs on it based off of a passive meter that's present just below his health bar. He will always start at 40 points when the fight starts, and you'll kind of see that ramp up to that 40-point threshold. He does reach an overheat threshold, though, when he gets to 100 points or more, though it is not triggered automatically at those 100 points. What these charges will do is it increases the potency of personal debuffs by 1% and reduces the opponent's regeneration rate by 1%. So it does have a bit of a detrimental effect to himself, but it also has a benefit for opponents that do have some sort of a regen mechanic, as it can shut that down once it gets to a high enough threshold. Every single time Yellowjacket or his opponent lands a hit, there is a 60% chance to increase that charge by 1, and anytime the opponent launches a special attack, he has a 100% chance to gain 10 charges to that. Whenever Yellowjacket would be hit with an unblockable special attack, he has a 100% chance to spend 10 nuclear core charges and reduce the opponent's attack rating by 75%. So he's a decent counter against characters like Ghost, who can hit with unblockable attacks and can really kind of circumvent a lot of those trickier attacks coming in from opponents because of that reduction to their attack rating. We also have a Meltdown Effect, and the Meltdown can start anytime Yellowjacket has over 100 charges. It is not guaranteed to start at that level, but the higher the charges become, the more likely it is for that to activate, and when it does, the Meltdown lasts for 12 seconds. When the Meltdown is active, there's a 75% chance for any point of contact between you and your opponent to inflict a burst of physical damage onto the opponent. And that can either be you striking into them or them striking into you. And the thing that you do need to be aware of is that this does not count for hitting into the opponent's block or vice versa. When the Meltdown ends, you are reset back to the initial total of core charges, which is 40, and you have to ramp your way back up there. Now, when you're in longer fights, you can sometimes activate 2 or 3 different Meltdowns, depending on how quickly you're able to make your way through your opponent. But most of the earlier game fights or lower level event quests, you won't ever see this activate at all. When Yellowjacket is combating against mystic opponents, any of his special attack features will immediately trigger on them when the attack is activated, not when the attack lands on the opponent, which means that he has a little bit of an increased edge when combating against those mystic opponents, which ideally is what you're looking to bring a science character around for anyways, to gain that advantage in combat. You just get a couple of additional perks with Yellowjacket's special attacks when doing so. Speaking of the special attacks, they all do things a little bit differently. So the special attack 1 will inflict up to 3 different power sting debuffs on your opponent. And each of the blasts from the special one has a 90% chance to place that power sting on the opponent, and it will last for 10 seconds. If an opponent triggers a special attack of their own while those power stings are active, they will receive a burst of direct damage to them, which they cannot counter in any way. The special attack 2 has a 100% chance to inflict a petrify debuff on the opponent, and that has a 50% potency, which petrify reduces power gain and health regeneration, and that debuff will last for 15 seconds. And the special 3 has a 100% chance to inflict an indefinite power sting on the opponent, which deals a little less than 3 times the amount of damage that you would see from the power stings off the special 1, but there are additional benefits to having that if you have the character awakened. And that's the last thing that we need to go over with Yellowjacket's kit. On the special 1, if you have the character awakened, you have a 100% chance to inflict a stun on the opponent when the debuff expires if it is not triggered by the opponent activating a special attack. That used to be built into his kit, now it is just a side effect of the special 1 if you have the character awakened. The special 2 will cause Yellowjacket to gain 4 core charges when the petrify debuff on the opponent ends. So you get a bit of a reward after the attack, after the debuff has expired. It's not huge, but it is a perk at the very least. And then the special 3 has a 100% chance to reapply the indefinite power sting to the opponent once the opponent has launched a special attack. After that, you will have a 10% decrease to that power sting reapplying every single time that they activate a special attack, and that is at the maximum benefit of having the character at the maxed out signature ability level. At lower ability levels, it will have a higher reduction in the chance for the attack or the power sting to reapply itself. So you could get a lot of repeat instances of that power sting applying, but you may not want to use that because you can get a lot more reliable damage out of a power sting detonation off of the special 1, especially if you are baiting special attacks out of your opponents by dashing into them, hitting into their block, and doing the other techniques that are present. So a really cool perk of the special 3, it still kind of is lackluster to the special 2. If it were more potent or did more than 3 times the amount of damage that is dealt by any one of the power stings off the special 1, it would certainly be a lot more worthwhile. But that's everything that we needed to talk about with Yellowjacket. Again, he's been reworked, and I really like what they did with his kit. But what do you think? Do you think that there are other things about Yellowjacket that needed to be changed or altered, or do you think that he's great just the way that he is now? Be sure to let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And don't forget to leave a like if you found today's video helpful, interesting, and or enjoyable. And make sure that you subscribe for that daily variety content. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.